Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is The Mad Knives, a 5-album, 5-movie sci-fi concept project. And today this video is part of the story series where we're going through each song on the upcoming album. This is the 4th installment and the song for today is entitled We're on Fire. Let's get into it. All right, let's do a very short recap in case you aren't all the way caught up. So a rogue incoming planet is on a collision course with Earth, and humanity decides to escape by building millions of homemade spaceships. Our story follows 5 people aboard one of those ships. So far, we've been through the first 3 songs, which go over the disaster being discovered, humanity's plans to escape, all of the efforts to build these spaceships, and now we find ourselves at song 4, entitled We're on Fire. And this is one of my favorite ones because this is the 5 Mad Knives inside their spaceship, the Radio Flier, and they are blasting off from Earth along with everybody else in humanity. So we're going to talk about what happens in this video and the story, but first let's do a little demonstration of the audio for this song, We're on Fire. Okay, so that's a feel for what this is going to sound like. This is one of my favorites. This one is very unique from the rest of the album. So let's go over what's happening in the story here. So basically we're starting with the Radio Flyer on its launch pad. And really just like a hero shot of it. So we're seeing it from the side in its full glory, ready to blast off. And as far as what we actually see in this video, there's not a lot of scenes to go through and not a lot of, this and that to go over, because basically my concept for this is that it's going to be a giant oneer, like a one shot through the whole thing. And as the spaceship takes off, the camera's going to sort of follow it, come around the front of the spaceship, go in through the front window of the spaceship, through the crew, through into the back of it, turn around so we can see the crew fall out the back of the spaceship, and then come back around on the port side. And that's basically a big S-curve oneer shot for the whole video. So I don't need to explain a whole lot of things about the scenes and the action in this video, because what's happening is the spaceship is taking off, getting into outer space, and this is one of the few successful moments for the Mad Knives and for humanity on this entire album and this whole story. So it's like a brief moment of triumph in the middle of all this catastrophic disaster and all these emotions that are going on. So the cool thing about this, though, is that it gives us an opportunity to see the 5 characters, the Mad Knives, inside the ship together, because so far we haven't really seen them together. So as we remember, there is a pilot, a co-pilot, the doctor, and the farmer. And there's also a 5th character that we haven't really been talking about yet, and that's the mechanic. And these characters are all color-coded, so I really should have done this in the right colors, but the pilot is dark blue, the co-pilot is light blue, the doctor is red, the farmer is in fact green, and the mechanic is in gray. So the characters are color-coded, and that's important for the videos and the movie and the continuity, because as of the beginning of this song, everybody is in spacesuits and space helmets for the entire rest of this first album. So these color codes are how we're going to know everybody apart. So we've talked a little bit about the pilot and the co-pilot. We've seen them in some of these government news reports and plans on everybody's tablets and phone screens and stuff in the first couple songs. And in those videos, the pilots and co-pilots weren't in their helmets yet for the most part. So we got to see some people's faces and the different types of folks that are doing this kind of thing. But now that we're on the Radio Flier, actually inside the spaceship, we don't know what the pilot and the co-pilot really look like. We just know that we got a pilot and a co-pilot. The doctor and the farmer, on the other hand, we've seen a lot of them, and that is, in fact, our doctor and our farmer, the ones we've been following for the whole first part of the album. And the tricky thing about the mechanic, one of the reasons that we haven't talked about the mechanic yet, the first time we see them, the mechanic, they're in like a coma, essentially. Something happened. They are unconscious, but they're on board. So when the camera comes around and goes through the windshield of the spacecraft, one of the first things that we see is the cockpit with all 5 of the Mad Knives in it. And you've got the pilot and the co-pilot in the driver's seats, as you would say, and the doctor and the farmer sitting over on one side together. And then we see this character all in gray that we've never met before, and that's the mechanic. And the reason that I'm being very non-specific about the mechanic is that the mechanic will be in the spacesuit and the helmet the whole time. And it's meant to represent any member of the audience. So we're not going to find out if the mechanic is a man or a woman or what type of person they are or what they look like or anything like that, because the mechanic is meant to be the audience stand-in, essentially. So there's going to be a little bit of weird mystery there. And I'll probably end up saying the mechanic over and over again because that's really the only way to refer to that character. But I'm excited now to finally introduce the mechanic into the story because without revealing too much, this is a very important character. Very important. So the first time we see the mechanic, they're passed out in the cockpit. And essentially what we're seeing as this camera comes through the cockpit, and my idea is for it to come through, and then as the camera floats through the middle of the spaceship, it'll sort of turn 180 degrees to be looking back at the cockpit out through the front window. And at that point in the story, we're presuming that the Radio Flier is reaching the part of outer space where gravity gives away. And that's one of the ways that we're going to see exactly what's going on with the Mad Knives. We're going to see them start to sort of float and celebrate and embrace, because once they get into outer space and off the planet Earth, this is the only time so far that we feel like the Mad Knives have succeeded. I talk about misspelling things a lot. I am very sure I've misspelled this. Success. Just pretend that I know the right number of C's and S's. This is one of the only moments so far in the album that anybody feels like anything has succeeded. And because for the moment they have. So the other cool thing that's going on in this particular video is that we're getting to see some of the details about the Radio Flier. And as far as color coding goes, the Radio Flier is orange. The spaceship is orange, always orange. And keen viewers may notice that I'm changing the spelling of the Radio Flier. I'm doing that for a handful of reasons, and they're all interesting, but I like the meaning of the word flyer when it's spelled that way. I feel like it makes more sense for the Mad Knives. Because who knows if it's going to work. So the other cool thing that is happening, and the reason I brought up the spaceship, is that this is going to be our first introduction to the interior of the spaceship. So I go very in depth about the spaceship and the characters in 2 previous videos on the channel. I'll try to remember to link them in the section below. But this is our first time seeing the inside of the Radio Flier. And because of the timeline of this catastrophe and how rushed everything had to be to get these spaceships built, they end up looking on the inside like vintage 70s semi-trucks with like cool wood paneling and chrome everywhere and lots of real tactile knobs and switches and things like that. So that's the vibe of the inside of the Radio Flier. So, like I said, a big story beat because humanity is leaving planet Earth for good. This is absolutely, in the story circle, this is go. This is where everybody is heading off into the unknown for the adventure. But the video is going to be deceptively simple. So the spaceship, the characters, they're being introduced in this moment. And the way this is going to end is once the Radio Flier is in outer space, has made it off the planet Earth, and has reached the distance that the plans deemed acceptable, all of the thrusters and afterburners are going to kind of die down, and the big excitement and violence of the launch is going to just sort of resolve into this peaceful silence, and we get this moment of victory, however temporary it may feel. And that's how this song closes out. The next one is, I'm so excited about this story. Okay, so the next video is for a song called We Got Each Other Now. And it is, again, one of these brief moments where everything feels okay. So in the story structure entirely, this little section here of, part of this song and part of the next song, it's the best that the Mad Knives are going to feel possibly ever again. So I'm really excited about this story and this series and telling everybody about it. I'm going to write victory because I think I know how to spell that. And that's about it for this video, really. Didn't have to step through too much of it. It's just an introduction to things now that everybody is off the planet. And the action has begun. Like, no more setup. We're really in it now. The Mad Knives are in outer space. Pretty cool. So hang around. I'm not going to do a million calls to actions, but stay tuned because next week we'll go on to the next song. And we're just going to keep going through them until we get through all 10 songs. You can check out the other videos on the channel if you want to see more about it. But for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.